Hello everyone, welcome back to Gray Brick Creations. My name is Michaela and today I'm going to be making another wedding gift. Wedding season is upon us, so I've been making a lot of these lately, but thanks for coming back and watching another one of my videos. Hope you enjoy! So the board I'm making today is kind of a long, tall, skinny board. So I'm going to need to print out 2 pieces of paper so that I can overlap the design, tape them together, and get this design onto the board. When I create these designs, I usually try to create them on a template that is the same size as the board, and that way when I cut them out, I can just create a border on the page that I'm cutting and cut it along that border, and that helps me to make sure everything is the right size, and it also helps me make sure everything lines up, like you can see here when I am having to tape 2 or more pieces of paper together. Now that I've got these taped together, I'm going to get the board out, take off the tag from the store, and pull the sticky note off with the name on the board. And then I'm just going to go ahead and set the design on the board. This one's pretty easy since it's just a rectangle. It's pretty simple to set it on the board, get it lined up, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually tape it to the board. Once the design is taped down in a few spots, I'm going to go ahead and get my graphite tracing paper, slide that in between the paper and the board, make sure that the shiny side is down, since that is the side with the graphite on it, and then I'm going to go ahead and start tracing over this design. When tracing over the design, I typically use either a pencil or a pen. It doesn't really matter which one you use. I think pencil is easier to see, so I can see what I've already traced over, and tracing over this is going to just transfer this design directly onto the cutting board. Since I do have a lot of long straight lines on this specific design, I'm going to go ahead and use a ruler for some of this just to make sure I'm getting straight lines. It also helps me then when I'm wood burning to make sure that the line I'm burning on is straight as well. I usually trace the design on in sections, and after I finish each section, I like to go back and look and make sure I didn't miss any lines. Like here you can see I missed one little line on the K, so I went ahead and went back and got that added in. Now I'm going to trace the design on the bottom of the board, and after that I will get to wood burning. Alright, now that the design is all traced on, it's time for me to pull that piece of paper off that was on the design, and then I'm just going to get my wood burner out. Here you can see my actual wood burner and then my box with my different tips. I'm going to pull those out of the little drawer that I use to store those in, scoot this little rolling workstation closer to my workbench, and then pick a tip. I'm going to start this board out at the top of the design, so I'm starting on some small cursive lettering. So I think I'm looking through my tips and probably a smaller tip is going to be the better choice here. Maybe one of the flat spoon-like tips might work good for filling in some of that blank space while also creating some clean edges. Here you can see the tip that I'm going to go with is this small spoon-like tip. I'm going to get that plugged into the wood burner and then get my burner turned on. Like I've said before, a lot of times I like to outline the letters first. This creates nice, crisp, clean edges, and then I go back and I fill in the space in between the edges of the letters. One of the main reasons I picked this font for the names at the top of the board was because it was a nice, clean, cursive font. I felt like it was pretty easy to read the names, so when I was burning this on, I really had to take my time to make sure I got all the small details of the letters in there without making the letters look like they were blowing up and keeping that nice, thin, cursive look. Here you can see another example of how I keep those crisp lines on the edge of the letters. Even this part of the video is sped up just a bit, so in all honesty, this takes me quite a while, but it's worth it to get the nice finished product that I typically get out of these boards. Now that I'm finished with the lettering at the top of the board, I'm going to switch the tip I'm using to something that's going to create really straight lines. So I'm thinking this nice little sharp kind of angled tip to create the lines around the capital letter K. While this specific tip does create nice straight lines, I do have to be patient when I'm using this tip to make sure that I'm putting it down right in the exact spot I need it to be, and that I'm also putting it down straight on the board. Otherwise it might come out at a funky angle. I have to make sure I'm applying even pressure so that one end doesn't burn a bigger spot than the other end. So usually I keep my temperature down a little bit on this one, just so I'm not creating a bigger mark on one end of the tip than the other. That I finished up those big straight lines around the letter K, I'm going to fill in the small leaves that you can see here using a flat spoon-like tip. I actually liked how the lines turned out so much on the square around the K that I decided to use the same tip to do the actual lines on the inside of the box for the letter K. The nice thing about having a large square letter like this is I can work on the lines and I don't have to worry too much about ruining anything on the inside of the K, because I'm going to come back at another point and actually fill all of that in with a darker tip. So all the inside of the K is going to be filled in. So if I'm going to make a mistake, I try to make sure that I do it on the inside of that letter so that I can cover it up with the additional wood burning at a later date. Now that I have the line work all laid out, I'm going to use this big flat kind of shovel-like tip to actually fill in the whole entire letter K. And yes, this did take me a while and it was a very smoky process, and I made sure that I had my little mini fan going to suck all that smoke and chemical air away from me. This part of the boards can get a bit tedious, but it's always my favorite part to go back and watch once it's done. It's just so satisfying to see that whole section all filled in. Lastly, I'm going to go through and finish up the rest of the lettering at the bottom of this board. It's going to be some cursive lettering similar to the names up at the top of the board, along with the date, which is in the same font as the capital K in the middle of the board. I did end up using the same tip for this section of cursive lettering that I used on the leaves up on the middle part of the board on the outline around the K. And then I used another big flat spoon-like tip for the date down at the bottom. Alright, now that the date is all finished up, here you can see the full board all put together. The names up at the top, the K in the middle for the last name, and then the date that this couple was married down at the bottom. This one turned out really beautiful, a little bit different than something I've done before. So thanks again for coming back and watching another one of my videos.